Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. Welcome to this is what session 5. We've been journeying together over the last few weeks with Mastering Claude AI. And Claude, as I mentioned at the outset of this journey together, is that it has really set itself apart with the latest versions that they've been releasing, especially for business and really just in terms of the LLMs. It really has sort of move out to the front. And who knows how long that will be because they're constantly juggling, who's in this horse race, so to speak. So anyway, today's session is about building your first personal software using the tool, and we're going to do that in a very short time. You're going to see it live. Um, those of you that don't know me, I'm a technology specialist and AI consultant, and also the author of Reclaim Your Digital Gold, and a few other books. But that was the first that was published 2022, before 6 months, literally 6 months before ChatGPT was released on the world, and it's all about data, AI, and technology, and how it's all being used to transform our world, as we're all very much aware of the digital world we're in nowadays. All right. So this session will be a little shorter than the other ones. We're going to go from idea to app. Really, literally, don't need any experience. You don't need any coding experience or development understanding. It's really just working with Claude and having an interaction with it to be able to produce what you want, just like you would if you had hired someone and you were giving them instructions and they were asking you questions. And so you'll see that as we build that out today. All right. So what you'll learn today really is just a series of steps. Turning your idea into how to go about turning your ideas into apps, converting a vague idea, if, for example, right, into something that's working, perhaps a micro app, and using Claude's tool set, which some of those tool sets we've been actually been using over the last couple of sessions. So you'll see how it all comes together. And then taking that idea to launch, and and really just extracting, following some exact steps, step by step, to process and go from concept to a finished application. Some of what you're going to see today, you'll be, to be blown away in the concept of, in the past, something like this could take days, weeks, months, for a development team to be able to produce. And here we have, AI essentially creating it for us, just by interacting with it. All right, you're going to learn how to iterate, with real examples. Whether you have mistakes or issues when the development happens, you don't have to fix it. You interact with the tool to tell it exactly what to fix. And in fact, you ask it what needs to be, how would it go about resolving? And so you'll see it's really just about communication. And the no difference, as I said, if you're communicating with a professional developer, right? And then we'll get into some advanced options. We'll talk about some advanced options such as tools like Claude Code, Claude Cowork, and some of these that you can build on in weeks or in the future. All right. So we're literally combining everything that we've covered, or the main aspects of what we've covered over the last number of sessions. So if you recall, session 2, we covered prompting, which is really about writing clear instructions to Claude, so Claude knows exactly what to build. And we talked about a 4-point structure, and so this is what we're going to be using in this session also. And of course, we talked about artifacts, and artifacts really is how it organizes that information, presents it to you, right? So you can see a development happening or updates happening on the fly kind of a side-by-side window. And so that's we're going to be leveraging that. So, you can essentially wrap your app in a beautiful interactive artifact. And the artifact is unique in terms of terminology, but it's a display system. And it's just a nice, tidy way that Claude has come up with presenting as building. And then we'll talk about projects, and projects is another form of organization, but there's something so unique about projects in that Claude keeps consistent with it keeps sorry Claude it keeps Claude consistent with custom instructions and context. So as we've covered in previous sessions, you essentially create a context area, an area where Claude will remember everything that you need to know. So a central repository, everything you need to know about this particular project that you're working on, so that you don't need to keep reminding it, or you don't need to, um, rehash and the important aspects of what you're trying to accomplish. So we covered that, and you'll see that again as we repeat as we go through this session here again. Okay. All right. So there's really a five-step process we're going to go through. And, as I, said at the outset of this, we're going to keep this one short, but then we'll have some time afterwards where we can have some interactive time. So we're going to focus primarily on the demo here. So a five-step build process. One is to generate clear instructions, right? So you're taking your idea from a blueprint, from idea to launch, and you want to have very clear instructions in terms of using the Anthropic console, which was something that we used in one of the sessions. And that, what does that do? That, helps to generate a precise prompt. So with the 4-point structure prompt that we talked about in the previous session in how to go about prompting, if you remember, giving it a role and telling it exactly what you want, and then of course, a couple of other points, including the output, that's the 4-point structure. If you recall that, you can do that, or you can also use the Claude console to structure a prompt for you. And that's what we're going to be doing in this particular, again, bringing it all together. We're going to use all of those tool sets, okay? And so you'll be able to see that. So then you go about setting up your project, which really is a copy and paste your instruction into a custom settings to keep Claude consistent and with respect to context and respect to everything that it needs to remember while it's interacting with you. And then you start the conversation and you share your idea, and Claude will ask you a series of very specific questions based on the context, based on your project that you've configured or set up, and that's going to be you see that very interactive piece as we go through this demo. And then you go the time to build. You say basically what you want when you want it to build. So Claude doesn't go off and do something, and then says, "Is this right?" Essentially, you have an interactive conversation with it, a very intelligent, very specific conversation with it. And then when you're ready, you tell it what that word is, that trigger word is. For example, the word build, okay, what the trigger word is to go off and to build it. And once that's done, you'll get a result, and then you can have an iterative, an improved session with it to refine, maybe give it some screenshots or something to polish the final product. And again, you'll see that interaction as we go through here. But these are the 5-step building process that we use for this exercise, and you can apply it yourself in any of your projects. But again, you generate very clear instructions, you set up the project, you start the conversation, you give it a trigger word, and then you iterate if necessary. So under step 1, giving it clear instructions, this is where you're going to essentially create a prompt. Okay, you want to generate the right prompt, but let that prompt do the heavy lifting. So we're going to go to Claude console, and I'm going to demonstrate this shortly. Okay, I'm just going to talk this through, and then we see that. You're going to go to Claude console, and essentially we're going to ask the console to generate the specific prompt that we need. So we don't have to guess what that prompt looks like or is needed. You can start, sometimes you start with one sentence and then you build on that. We don't need to do that. What we're going to do is just go in and tell in the console, we're going to tell it the idea. We're going to just give it an idea and to say, can you generate the prompt, the best prompt for me? If you recall, maybe last year, it's not that long ago, perhaps last year or a year before. I don't think it was a year before. So I think it was recent as last year. There was a lot of talk about prompt engineering and that being a tremendous career for the future. And what a prompt engineer is someone who actually creates prompts in a structured way that gets precisely and the best results that you want. And yes, that is actually a great profession. But guess what? These LLMs, Claude, specifically as in the use case we're using here, actually know how to create the best prompts. So why not ask them to create a prompt for you? And that's what the console is going to do for us. All right, and then we're going to describe, what we want to do in plain language. Again, that's the idea. And then we add a trigger word like, build. Keep saying world. Word like build. And then Claude will say, "Okay, you're ready. Let's rock. Let's rock." Okay, so you'll see that. And then this just keeps all the control really in your hands, as opposed to letting Claude, run off and do stuff, and then you go back and forth with it. So what does that do? That saves you on time, and most importantly, it saves you on credits. So if you're using, a heavy, instruction set, it uses up a lot of credits on Claude. And if you're using one of the plans, you know, some of them have limits, right? Or they'll use up so much before they take a break. They'll ask you to take a break. So when you're being very concise, that helps you to maximize how much you get out of the tool, in your month or in your usage. So, and then the trigger word, as I said, gives Claude kind of say, okay, we're ready to go, and let's build together when you're ready. All right, step two of that overview that we showed there is, you set up your project. You go into projects, you create a new project and under Claude, and you just paste the instructions in there and any supporting documents, which we demonstrated in previous session. And you need to keep Claude consistent and throughout the whole session, because remember, it remembers everything that's pertinent to the project, because you set it up that way. And then it really just sets the foundation for quality results. And then you start the conversation with it. Okay, you talk to Claude. You tell Claude, in a very simplified way, exactly what you want. And Claude asks you some smart, clarifying questions, and you answer, with specificity, and you build the results, and then you review what it builds for you. Okay. And then when you go to talk about time to build, again, say the trigger word, let's build, and Claude will create this in an artifact. Remember that wonderful window that you see there we talked about on the right side. You'll see it build it as go. And then, that's your first version. May not be perfect, all right? And that's normal, okay? That's okay. The idea is to get something that you can tweak or so on. You may or may not be aware of the term MVP. In software development terms, that means minimal viable product. And so it could be that you're creating an MVP, a minimal viable product, which is basically just concept, and it doesn't have all the wirings to do everything. But that's where you go back and forth with an MVP. Something like an MVP, you start with concept, you create something, you look at it, go, oh, okay, no, I want that tweak, I want that tweak. And again, you're not doing any of the programming or any of the heavy lifting. You're letting Claude and the tool do all of that for you. All right, and then you go move into the latter stage, which is the fun stage. I believe is really where you're iterating. Okay, change this, no, change that, move that back and forth, and the way you can do that is you can interact with it by talking to it. I think I shared with you in the past that you can talk directly into the microphone in Claude, and it will transcribe what you say into the prompt or into the text, and then you just hit go. Or you can edit that, or you type it in, or you can take screen captures and then say, here's what I'm seeing. can you fix it or can you adjust that? Just like if you were to communicate with somebody remotely, they say, I can't see what you're talking about. You take a screen capture of it, you circle it or you highlight or do mark it up and you send it over. Believe it or not, these tools are phenomenal in reading screen captures. And so you could take a screen capture, send it over to the window and say, this is what I'm seeing. And instead of typing out a whole long sentence, it'll say, this is what it'll tell you, this is what I see. Is that what you want to have change? So great way to interact with the tool. And then you have your multi-iteration process, which is normal. All right, we're going to do all this in less than 10 minutes. So what we're going to take as a real live example for this exercise here is a travel packer. Um, Many of you probably travel on a regular basis or periodic. It doesn't matter. Well, one of those things that happens when we travel, we tend to, either forget something or maybe we, brought too much or, we get there, to get to a destination, what we bring wasn't always appropriate, we miss. So anyway, so that's what we're going to do with this travel tracker, and we'll have some fun with that. So you may, initially when the apps get created, it may be messy as a first draft, and we'll talk about, how to go about. We just talked a little bit about some of that already, but you may notice things like overflowing icons, limited weather options, there's confusing layout, or maybe it's not a clean we need a cleaner design. We need some smooth animations. We need some hover effects. These are all things that when you start looking at the product that you got as a first draft, you may start, critiquing it and picking out stuff and say, I want this change, I want that change, which is no different than if you got something from, you hired a developer to build something for you and they gave you an MVP or minimal viable product or a draft, and you reviewing it and say, you know what, I need this fix, I need that fix, better organization, after and so on. So you get a nice, clean, functional, and shareable app. That's what we want to accomplish, and we're going to do that, as I said, with this tool we're going to call a travel packer in our demo. All right. Then we're going to go into show you how easy it is to click the publish, just hit publish button at the bottom, and away you go. And then we'll go into you can share that link with others, and it's very straightforward, very simple. And then yeah. Anyway, all right. So those are the key things that we're going to cover off. So let's get into the demo. All right. So I'm going to just pause my screen. Okay, and then I'm going to bring up Claude. And we will do this demo together, and I think we'll have enough time to perhaps do another one or have an interactive session here. So give me a moment while I get this all set up.
Oh, hi, Wayne. Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Oh, hi. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm calling from my phone. I'm having some computer issues today. But thank you so much for this so far. I was wondering, I learned about your sessions a little bit late, so I didn't get to see the first couple of them. I was wondering if you have recordings available by chance.
Yes, all of them are recorded. They're on YouTube. I'll send the link so you can go access to them on YouTube.
Oh, lovely. Thank you.
Okay, I will bring this up and then we'll get started. Yeah, all of these sessions have been recorded and they're placed on YouTube. So you can certainly, if you missed the previous sessions, you can go and view them there, and please subscribe and like and share them. Okay, so here we are at essentially the main screen for Claude. And what we're going to do is just let me move my screens out of the way here. Okay, what we're going to do is start with what we want to accomplish, which we're going to go into Claude Console for start. Okay, I'll come back to Claude in a minute, but we'll go to Cloud Console. If you remember on the Cloud Console, that's where we can generate the custom prompt that we want. So to get to Cloud Console, it's platform.claude.com, or you can search for it, say Cloud Console, and it'll take you to that. And I'll put these links in the not only in the chat, but also in um, the email that goes out after this, so you have access to it. Okay. All right. So under Cloud Console, this is the kind of the main center for so many things. We covered off this in one of the previous session. You've got your dashboard, you got API keys. You can build agents. You can set up skills and batches. We haven't gone into any of this stuff because a lot of this is quite involved in terms of each session could take up API key. A session could take up, we can take a whole session on API key, a whole session on Cloud Builds. So if you want more, you can certainly contact me and I would gladly do those sessions. Actually, I have a course that goes into that a lot more. But what we're doing for this session, we're just focusing on prompting, okay? Which is we're going to create essentially this super specific prompt. All right. And what we're doing is we're going to give it just my idea. All right. So remember, we said we want to create this travel packer. Okay. So what we want is just notifying just whether we typed it or read it out. Just saying here that you are a friend. You are a friendly app builder assistant. For people who have no coding experience. Help me build a simple single page web apps as an interactive artifact. Notice that word artifact in there. Okay. Before building anything, ask me clear questions on the topic one at a time. Okay. So that you understand very clearly what I want. Only start building the artifact when I type in the word build. Keep design clean, colorful, and easy to use. Notice there's no tech jargon in here whatsoever. I'm just speaking to it as if I'm talking to someone who's a professional developer sitting beside me, and I say, I have this idea, and I want to, and all of you have this in you, right? All of you have these ideas you want to accomplish, and so on. Well, now you have this. The tool is now at your disposal for literally interacting with it in the fashion that you would talk to anyone. So there's the verbiage I'm going to give it, and it's going to take that verbiage and it's going to convert it into a prompt, a very sophisticated and technical prompt that I don't need to worry anything about in terms of uh, how technical it is, if it is technical. Okay. But the good news is that's going to give me something I can use. So I just hit run. Okay, and on the side here, if you can see it, on the left side, it's saying, hi, I'd love to help you build a simple web app. To get started, I just need to understand, what you'd like to create. So let's do it one step at a time. Okay, first, okay, what kind of app is it? Okay, and I'm, going to tell it here that the kind of app that I want is just a to-do list, okay? I'm not going to go into too much here. Just give me a to-do list, okay? Okay, to-do list, right? And it'll continue. If I continue on this pathway, it'll keep asking me a bunch of questions, right? And I just keep answering them, okay? So, whoops. So I'm going to just keep this simple here. I'm going to click this generate window. Okay. So to make it in just the interest of time, and I'm going to put it in this generate prompt window. And I hit generate. And this is the shortcut to what I just showed you there. Okay. So they both accomplish the same thing. Okay. The Q&A or just Here, generate the prompt, okay? So it's going to bake in some of these questions in there for me. So here we go. All right. So this is the prompt that is creating. Okay. You can see there's not a lot of technical ease in this, but it's very nicely designed. Okay. Using those 4-point prompt design structure that we've talked about previously. So I'm going to copy it. Okay. And let me make sure I copy that. Okay. So I've copied that prompt. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back over to Claude. And in Claude, we talked about projects. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a new project. So we go over to project and we go create new. And we're going to create a travel, give it a name, a travel packer. Okay. I'm going to give it a name, something like fancy, like for me. Okay. You can give it whatever you want. You don't even have to create fancy. This is just a title anyway. It's not it's just a title of the project. Okay, so it's not the title of the app yet, but I could tell it, what the name of the app is. Okay, so I'm copy and pasting this in. I'm not putting it into the chat yet. Okay, remember there's a chat window. We covered this off previously. The chat window, and then there's the instructions, and then supporting files. And just to recap here, under projects, this whole area is so important because you have the memory. Remember, Claude projects have memory. And so it has a memory of everything about that's contained within this about this particular project. So here I'm going to give it instructions. I'm going to literally put the prompt in that instruction window, and I'm going to save it. So in this instruction window, this is where you want to give it kind of the personality, what you want from it, what you expect of it. So every time you ask it a question, it's going to reference this. All right. The other thing it's going to reference to are any files. So if you have any supporting files, let's say, for company, if you've got policies or procedures, or, if for this particular idea, maybe I've got, a list of things that I normally take, in my travel. All right. I could add it here as documents, as reference materials. And what does that mean? It means that Claude is going to refer back to those things every single time before it actually goes ahead and builds something. All right, so it's a great way to consolidate, have all central repository that's related. Remember, it's only related to this project because it doesn't share memory between projects. All right. So
One quick question.
yeah.
When you went to files, right there, going to be able to upload different documents, I see when you clicked on it on there that it allowed you to go to a Google Drive. So it's in a and I see Google and I see Canva. Is that something that's automatically
So I've
part of that,
connected.
or you added it to it as an
Yeah,
extension?
I've connected to Google and Canva. So
Okay.
but you can too. As a part of your of Claude, you have the ability to be able to connect to some of these external resources.
Okay.
All right. So in this particular case here, you're seeing that the things that I've already previously connected to. Yours may not be initially, but you can certainly do that. All right.
Okay.
That's
Thank
that's
you.
another that's another session because there's so much you can do in terms of interoperability between Claude and some of these other sources, including Canva. Canva is a tremendous thing you can do with Claude, which again, I may go into a future session if we have time. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to begin the conversation with my expert developer here, okay, which is Claude, right? So, I've already said I want what I want, okay? So I'm just going to describe what I want in plain English, and then Claude is going to ask me some questions. So here we go. I want to build an epic traveling app, okay? Like a list app called, I'm going to give it something here, called Travel Partner. Partner for me. Okay? You can call it anything you want. I'm just going to just have fun with it, okay? Travel partner for me. Now, what's really important here is that what it's doing is going to have a conversation with me. Remember, it's not going to build anything. It's just going to dialogue with me. So, because I've given it references that so it's going to draw from that reference. It knows how to behave. It knows the context of what we're doing. And so, all right, it comes back and it says travel partner for me. I love that name. Thank you, Claude. A packing list is such a useful idea, and I'm excited to help you build this. Before we start, I want to be sure that I fully understand exactly what you're picturing. So let's take one step at a time. So it's asking me this first question, okay? The big picture. You know, how would you how would you want the packing the pack sorry, how would you want like the packing list to be organized? One simple list organized by category. So you can respond or you can say, give me your suggestion. Remember, you're talking to a professional developer, okay? An expert developer. And so I'm going to just say, okay, let's just do, I can do the number one, or I can, it's for short, or I can type it out. One list. I'm going to say actually organized by category. So by category. Okay. So I respond to that. That's the first question. All right. All right. Then they ask me, oh, great choice. All right. Sure. Thank you. All right. Organized by category makes it easy. It's so much easier that you can, make sure that you don't forget anything. All right. Then it goes, okay, now let's think about those categories. Well, would you like me to set up the categories for you, or would you want to set them up on your own? All right. So I'm going to say both. Now, it's asking me questions based on the prompt I gave it, knowing that very well where we want to get to. So it's really just interacting with me to be more refined. That's all. All right. And now it's saying, okay, now let's talk about, what you actually want to do with the items in your list. Which of these do you prefer? Okay. Do you want a checklist? Do you want to add quantities? Do you want to delete items, progress tracker? You know what? I kind of like all. I'm going to say do all, right? And mind you, remember I said that iterative process? So even after you build it, you can come back and ask it to remove stuff or change stuff around, okay? So, don't be afraid to go all in, all right? When you're building these things, you're literally having a dialogue with a professional that's going to create something amazing for you, and you want to make sure you get it right, all right? So awesome, okay? Make it fully loaded. Yeah, that's right. All right, now last topic before we build. By the way, I'm going to put something in here, okay? I'm going to ask it to do this. So it's saying here last thing before we build, but I may want it to do more. So it says, last topic, the look on your, and feel, what color and what vibes. I'm going to say, before you do this, before I answer that, I want you to add trip types. I also want you to adjust for, so let me just get this in. I also want you to adjust for trip length, weather, and other activities. Oops, let me get the S in there. Okay, so before it'll come back to me. So what it's doing now, it's go, oh, okay, you've got another feature in there. So, oh, now we're getting epic. Okay, so it's having fun with me. All right. And it's again, it's not going to put, if you can tell it to push back if you want. That's another thing too, by the way. With all these questions and answers, you can say, I want this, but tell me what you really think, or tell me if there's any risks or things I should be thinking about that I'm not thinking about. Okay, and Claude will actually come back and tell you that. All right. So anyway, we're just gonna, in the interest of time, we're gonna keep moving here. Okay. So here's what I'm picturing. Okay. When you start the list, so it's describing the whole thing for me: the trip type, the trip length, the weather, the activities, and then it goes in, and then so here, okay, does that match what you're imagining? And then you go on here and you get this pick list and say, I'm just gonna say yes, this build, okay? So I'm gonna say I'm happy with it, all right, so far. And the color. Okay, actually, no, let me answer the color question. For the color theme, which is what it asked me before, make it cool blue. Okay, and let's see what it comes up with. All right, make it cool blue. Okay, cool blue it is. All right. And I can always come back and change that. All right, so now I'm ready. Okay, or I could even say, give me a summary. Give me a summary of what we're building. And again, remember, I could talk to it, or I could type it in, what we're building. Okay, before we build. Notice I haven't given it the go-ahead to build anything yet. Okay, absolutely. Here you go. Okay, here's the full picture. All right, so we've got a travel partner for me. Okay, your travel packing, your smart packing assistant is organized by category. It's a smart trip setup. All right. And, we've got features such as, check item list. We've got add quantities. We can delete quantities. We've got a progress tracker. All right. And the design is going to be a nice, clean, modern layout with a cool blue theme. And, you know, some of these other things in here. You ready? So let's go build. Let's hit build. It looks good. So now I'm ready. I hit build. This is where Claude takes over. And it's building an entire app for me in literally minutes. Now, when I say an app, this isn't the app that you put on the App Store. This is not the app you put on the Google Play Store. This is, you could take it there, okay? This is the first step, okay? So this is essentially a web app, okay? So, and many apps are done that way. In fact, a lot of big companies, that's how they start before they go out and invest, thousands of dollars into creating something that's an app that goes onto the App Store or so on. So what we've created here, okay, what we're creating here, I should say, is a tool that you can get a link that you can send around to people that you could interact with, and it behaves like any other app, other than the fact that it may not have a little icon that or you downloaded it from the App Store, but it literally is a full-blown tool. And in this case, it's a tool that is going to be very effective for me for my traveling and for anyone. And if you want to monetize it too, that's another thing altogether. But you want to monetize it, you absolutely can. So here we go. So this is what it's built. All right. So it gave me a summary here. Okay. Let's call it travel for me, travel partner for me. All right. Your smart packing assistant. So I can click here and I can choose. Okay. No, I didn't tell it to do this, but it came up with that. So I can come back to it and say, I want to travel, so I want to make travel for, rough countries or when I say rough countries, I mean like rough terrain. That's the word I was looking for, right? So anyway, it came up with leisure, business, and a mix of both. Okay, the type of type of trip, and then how many days, and I can modify those number of days. All right. All right. The weather is going to be hot some days. Maybe I'm going to prepare for rainy. I don't want to prepare for cold. Okay. Some mild. I'm not going anywhere cold. It's snowy. So, all right. Again, depends on the time of the year. And then here, again, these are just pick lists. And this is all baked into my app that it has created. So for me I'm now testing this and playing around with it. And I'm going to spend activities on the beach. I'm going to maybe do some swimming. And yes, there's going to be a formal event. Okay. So I say, again, it's based on my selection here, it's going to tell me what items I should pack. And here we go. So there's my pick list. Notice the color theme I told it, cool blue, right? And as I start checking off items, it tells me how many items have been packed. Again, it's leisure. It's just summarized up top here. 4 days. It's hot. What I want to choose, and I just go through this, and I'm choosing, various items on here, which is going to give me a summary of, okay, the things I want by category that I should bring. Okay. Um, and don't forget your passport, your wallet, all these things here. And again, and then I can add items these are suggested items that I came up with, but I can add different categories, different items to each category. Okay. Um, let's see here. Uh, I'm going to put sandals here. I'm not sure if it's there, but I'm going to add it. Okay. Okay. All right. So there you can see that. Or I can remove items off of here altogether. Okay. And then, of course, I can also indicate how many items I want. Okay, I want to bring 2 pairs of sandals, okay, etc. Okay, so there it is there, and I can remove the entire category if I want. So this is a tool that was built in less than 5 minutes with me just talking to it. Imagine what you can do with a full-blown um, app that you have in mind, or an idea that you have in mind that you've always wanted to bring to life. And you could even use this as a MVP, a minimal viable product, and hire someone based on this to say, I want you to build it out. Now you can use the tool to do it too, I'm saying, but my point is, if you really want to go, to a next level, you can then take it, and you could, if you want, hire somebody to build an even more grandiose solution. But trust me, I'm only scraping the surface, or demonstrating really just the surface of what this can do here. So it can do a lot. So what I'm going to do now, it looks really good and it works really well. Okay. And then I can say start a new trip, but I'm going to say, you know what, I need couple of things done to this app. It looks good. So I'm going to go back here. Remember, this is the iteration time now. Okay, there's nothing that's not working. It looks like everything is in place. It's not all right. But I'm going to say looks great. Looks great. Okay, let's add a print. I want to be able to print the list, print list, and export list. Oops. List to Excel, to Excel. Also, add an undo button when I make a mistake. Un Undo button when I make a mistake, like delete an item by accident. Okay, that's a bit you can be as comprehensive, by the way, as you like. So I'm just trying to keep it simple here, but I'm giving it 3 instructions in this one prompt here. Okay, because I'm just going to go back and forth with it, and I can also ask it to change the colors. So many things I can do here. But let's look what happens. Okay, fantastic additions. All right, those will make the travel partner for me. Okay, feel really polished and practical. One of the things I could do is I could also ask it to go, you know what, you're a professional developer. Go back through this app and be objective and tell me what you would improve on it. Maybe in the interest of time, maybe we can do that. But let's finish up here. So I've said yes. Okay, fantastic. Let's make sure we've got it right. Before it's going to go ahead, just answer 2 quick questions. Okay. Um, okay, export to Excel. Um, do what is best. I'm not going to, go back and forth. I'm just going to do what you feel is best. instead of responding, but I could take my time and ask the question. But in the interest of time, we're just going to plow through. Okay. So it's making the decisions for me based on best demonstrated practices. Now, keep in mind that all of these large language models have access to the world's information. It could be the best developer ever. It could be the best psychologist ever, the best instructor, coach, you name it. All of that is on. Remember, it has collective data of everyone's information that's been put that's available online. And so it's acting in a way that is like an expert, a collective expert. The best universities. Think of the best universities. It's hard to believe, but all of the information is collected and placed is what was used to train these models. So when it's acting, it's not acting as a second-rate developer. You may get results that may look like second rate, but that's because of the questions that you may ask it or the way you're interacting with it. And that's why we're in this exercise and where we spend weeks together talking about how to properly prompt, how to use tools like artifacts, how to use projects so that you're essentially guiding this thing to get the best out of it. All right, so here we go. So now it's done that update for me. I'm going to do a refresh. I can just click on the button there, refresh button, actually, and it will do that for me. Okay. Okay, here's the artifacts. And then we're going to publish this in a minute. All right, so again, same thing. I'm going to do a little bit of leisure traveling, all right, and keep it at 5 days. It's going to be nice and mild, and the weather. I don't want to prepare for any rain. I'm going on the beach. I'll do some swimming and maybe a little bit of sight. No, I'll definitely my formal event, and yeah, why not do some sightseeing while I'm there too? Okay, and build my packing list. Notice up here, look at that list. So I'm going down here. I got pants. I'm making my pick list, business attire. I'm going through, okay. I bring some shorts. I've got toothpaste and toothbrush and deodorant and shampoo and my camera, of course, my headphones. Gotta remember my charger, okay? Passport ID, etc. I'm just going down real quickly down this list here. And once I have that all together, okay. All right, my sunglasses, how can I not forget that? Okay. And let's delete swim. No, let's delete this. Oh, I accidentally deleted the dress shoes. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Um, let's see. Ah, undo. Remember what I asked it for? Well, guess what reappeared? There it is there. Now, how about printing it? Oh, gave an error here. Ah, I'm glad it gave an error. So I would take a picture of this error instead of telling it that I got this error, and I would just take a picture here and go, okay. And can you see my screen capture? I'm not sure if I'm showing that. Okay. And this screen capture that I've just taken, I've copy and pasted into chat. And there it is, the screen capture of what happened. And I said, I got this error. I don't know what to do with it. I got this error. And it's going to do the diagnosis for me. Thanks for the screenshot. Look at that. That's super helpful. Okay. The app itself looks great. And as it's working, but I can see the console error. So instead of me copying that and trying to figure it out and trying to explain it, I just took a screen capture of that and I pasted in. That's what that error looks like. That I got on the screen there. So I just copied and pasted that error and look, it came back and said fixed it. All right. Oh, good. All right. So you fixed it. So let's go back then. If it fixed it, then that would mean that I should be able to run it again. Okay. And that's another enhancement. In interest of time, I won't get into that. That's another enhancement I can say to it. Well, look, when you fix something, don't let me start over. Okay, I want to keep my data in there. Okay, so don't keep removing my data. Okay, just keep going. Just going to make a few picks here. Okay, and and then I go to print list, and this time it'll show up or it'll give me an error or something, but I'm interacting with it to improve it. And then here's the download option. Okay, so I can download that to Excel. I can, print it. I can do anything I want with that, or I can start a new trip. That, folks, is how you build an app in minutes with Claude. Claude is one of the few that allows you to be that to create things like this because of the artifacts and the projects and some of those. So let's just go back to the presentation. And I'm going to take some questions in a moment here, but okay. But now that you've seen the demo of creating an app and how easy that was, you can type in the chat, how easy and how simple was that? Again, it's not about being a developer, it's not about being technical, it's really just, you would give instruction to someone at work and ask them to get something done for you, and you'd expect it to be, what you had communicated. But it's all about how clearly you communicated what you communicated, very how precise the results is. It's the same thing. You're speaking to a tool, in this case, Claude, you're speaking to Claude, but Claude essentially is going to interact with you based on what we talked about here, in a way that gives you the precise results that you're looking for. So some of the more advanced things that you can do, Claude Code, okay, is agentic coding, in your terminal or Chrome extension, and it describes exactly what we just talked about here, but it builds a a bigger solution, right? You're kind of limited somewhat, by the size and scale under what I just showed you. But on the Claude Code, that's where the developers really work. They love that because they're talking to it in not in technical leads, but more comprehensive language. And then Claude Cowork is same power visual interface for your desktop, right? And so that's where with Claude Cowork, essentially you can turn it loose on your desktop, say, organize my folders for me. Okay. Of course, you have to give it permissions and do all that stuff, and the, privacy things you want to be conscious of if you've got personal private stuff on your desktop. But you can turn Claude loose on your desktop to do a ton of stuff. All right. And you have to have a certain version of your desktop, of the Windows, I should say, or Mac to be able to do that. But you can do that. Okay. Built for business users who'd rather avoid the terminal, which is terminal is just a that black screen that you see where you get kind of like the old DOS days for those of you that are that can remember like I can. All right, and then a tool like Lovable is a great no-code platform to build websites and tools and softwares and it's really just powerful. And then there's Replit and Cursor are another option to be able to use to build more sophisticated products. All right. So for week 5 challenge, session 5 challenge, all right, I want to ask you, or challenge you, I should say, to build something yourself. All right. Pick one repetitive task that annoys you and ask Claude to build it. Okay. And remember to include the word artifacts in it. Okay. Because that's what going to create that tool for you on the side. All right. And then use the prompt generator that we talked about, set it up in projects, and then remember to use the keyword build. And Claude won't do it until you actually, if you're telling it what you want, you're building an app, it won't go ahead and start running off and doing it. Typically, it asks you, okay, can we move ahead now? All right. But that's a great way to interact with it. All right. So that's today's session. And you want to reach out to me, you can book a meeting with me on Calendly. Go to just Calendly/W Hinds. You can scan this QR code. That'll take you to my LinkedIn page. And of course, my book, Reclaim Your Digital Gold, all about data, technology, and AI and transforming a world. And just a tidbit for you here, I'm in the process right now of creating a second edition of the book. The book was published in 2022, before ChatGPT and AI was released on the world. And this here so much has happened in just the 3 years since then. So I've taken the initiative of beginning to update it, and I'm also launching with it an app that will allow you to give you the power in your hands, which is what the book talks about, to be able to go and scour the internet and find out where on the internet you show up, because that's so important, so that you can take power back, because there's so much information, all of us online, and we don't know where that is. So there's an app and a tool that we're going to make available to put the power in your hand to be able to identify who knows what about you online. Okay, so stay tuned. You're going to hear that's going to be more information on that to come. Thank you for your time. I've got a free gift. Let me just, and I'll take questions.
Yes.
Let me
Phyllis.